I only asked her one thing, one small, harmless thing. Sweetheart, please don't smoke in front of me. That's it, no anger, no lecture, just a father speaking gently to his daughter. But my son-in-law, the man she married, the man I welcomed into my family, he stood up, walked toward me, and slapped me across the face. Hard, my glasses flew off. My daughter screamed. And he said, "In this house, old man, you keep your mouth shut." I didn't fight back. I didn't yell. I left. And the very next morning, I did something that changed all of our lives forever. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. My name is Samuel Trent. I'm 62 years old, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina. I've worked my whole life to take care of my daughter. But the day her husband slapped me, that was the day I learned she'd been hiding a truth far worse than cigarettes. And by the time the sun rose the next morning, I knew I had to expose him or lose her forever. My hand still smelled faintly of coffee, morning ritual, the kettle, the one cup I liked black. I was in the kitchen when I heard the laughter. Light, careless, like nothing was wrong in the world. My daughter, Emma, always laughed that way. She has that sound in her bones, easy, bright. I set my mug down and walked toward the living room. The couch cushions were indented where they'd been sitting. The TV was on low, playing some reality show. He was there, my son-in-law, Mark. A giant of a man, all broad shoulders and confident hands. He looked up when I entered, a smile that tried to be warm, but it didn't reach his eyes. He had a cigarette in his fingers. I remember thinking, not loudly, that the smell would cling to the furniture, to my daughter's hair. "Emma," I said quietly, "could you please don't smoke in here? Just a small request." It wasn't a sermon. It wasn't a demand. I see them now, the way the room tightened the moment the words left my mouth. Mark's head snapped toward me. His jaw went hard. "Excuse me," he said too slowly. I held the mug with both hands. I tried to soften my voice. "Just not inside, that's all. Open a window or go out back. It's in this house, old man, you keep your mouth shut," he said before the sentence could finish. Cold rose in my chest. His hand moved faster than I expected. It connected before I could think. My cheek burned, sharp, physical, and then my glasses were skittering across the rug. There was a beat of silence so loud it roared. Emma stood up, hands to her mouth, her face gone white. "You," she started, but Mark wasn't done. "You don't tell my wife what to do," he snapped. "You're not the boss here." I didn't fight. There was no fight in me that night, only a tiredness that felt like old age and hours of worry. I put my hand to my face and picked up my glasses. I cleaned them with the edge of my shirt as calmly as I could. I left the house. I walked out in my slippers and my robe into the clear night. The air hit my face like permission. Neighbors watched from porches. Someone called the next day to make sure I was all right. Joe from the diner brought a thermos to my truck and said, "Don't go back in there yet, Sammy. You deserve better." But I did go back. I knocked on the glass door like a man who's been exiled and now begs to return. Emma opened it, eyes rimmed with red. "Dad," she whispered, "why did you leave?" I thought of everything I'd given her. Late-night drives to the hospital, skipping meals to afford her piano lessons, the mortgage I paid so her little family would have a roof. "You're my daughter," I said, voice steady. "I just asked you not to smoke in my living room a while ago." She shook her head. "It's not about the cigarette," she said. "What then?" She looked at Mark, who sank into the chair like he hadn't heard. "It's Mark," she said, and the words fell like stones. He's been stressed. Business. He takes it out sometimes." I felt cold again. "Does he hit you?" I asked. Emma's face broke open. "No," she said fiercely. "Not me, not me. He never." Her voice trailed into a tremor. There was a long silence where the world seemed to hold its breath. "You're telling me he hit his father-in-law," Joe said when I replayed it that night at the diner. "That's a bold thing, Samuel." Bold, it felt like shame. I should have gone to the police. That's what the rational voice in books tells you. Stand up. Report it, make him answer. But the part of me that loved my daughter more than pride sat very still. Emma called me the next morning, voice shallow. "Dad," she said, "don't come over today, please." There was pleading in it, like she was protecting her husband more than her father. "How can you ask that?" I whispered. "I'm asking you to trust me," she said, "and I'm asking you to stay away until I fix it." She hung up. I sat at my kitchen table holding a mug gone cold. People say men like me hold our pride like armor. But armor has seams. I began to notice the seams. That night, I slept in my truck in the church parking lot. A ridiculous thing for a man my age, but I needed to be near enough in case she called. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text. If you love her, keep your mouth shut. My fingers went numb. I called Emma. No answer. I called Mark's number straight to voicemail. I replayed the text until the screen glowed. Someone was warning me or threatening me. Either way, I felt trapped. The next morning, the paper had a small headline about a local investor, Mark's company, landing a big deal. A photo of Mark grinned from the page. I felt something slick pool under my ribs. I thought about the slap, the words, the quiet in Emma's voice. I thought about how a cigarette could be the thin excuse for something much thicker: anger, control, fear. Then I noticed an envelope on my porch, plain, no return address, my name in a neat, unfamiliar hand. I opened it with hands that trembled. Inside was a single photograph, a photo of the living room, my living room. It showed my glasses on the rug, a smear on the cushion where my cheek had hit, and in the corner, written in black ink, "Keep your mouth shut or you won't be the only one who gets hurt." I let the photograph fall onto the floor. The house behind me didn't feel like the place of my happiest memories anymore. It felt like a stage set. I understood then that this was not only about Mark's temper. There were people who protected that temper, people who kept the secrets tidy, and I was standing on the edge of something far larger than one foolish request about smoking. I had a choice. I could walk away and pretend none of this mattered, or I could follow the photograph. I picked up the phone. My thumb hovered over my contacts, and then, before I could talk myself into cowardice, I pressed the number I hadn't wanted to dial. It was a number older than Emma's childhood, a voice that had soothed me, punished me, and sat on the other side of every big choice I'd made. "Detective Harris," I said when he answered, my voice small but steady. There was a pause and then his voice. "Mr. Trent, are you calling because of the photograph?" I didn't know then that the truth I was about to begin would tear into the family like a storm. But I did know one thing as I drove toward the police station that morning. I wouldn't let my daughter be silenced, and I wouldn't let a cowardly slap stand as an end to something I had sworn to protect. Detective Harris didn't waste time. He never did. He'd been on the force in Charleston for 30 years, a man who carried truth like a second badge. When I entered his office, he didn't offer coffee. He didn't ask how I was. He simply held up the photograph. "Mr. Trent," he said quietly, "this picture didn't come from your daughter's house." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" He tapped the glossy corner of the photo. "This was taken with a security camera, not a phone." Not a handheld camera, a mounted camera. I stared. "A security camera in my house," he nodded slowly. "And not one with a wide view. This is low angle, hidden. Someone installed a camera in your living room." My blood went cold. "You're telling me someone has been watching us?" Detective Harris folded his hands. "Not watching," he corrected. "Monitoring." The word hit harder. "Do you know who installed it?" I asked. He shook his head. "Not yet, but whoever sent this wants you frightened. Wants you silent, wants you obedient." He slid another file across the desk. "Tell me about your son-in-law, everything." So I did, not the polished version, not the excuses I had made for Emma's sake. The truth, how he arrived in her life like a storm cloud she swore was sunshine. How she changed slowly, a little quieter, a little more careful with words, a little more apologetic after things that weren't her fault. When I finished, Harris leaned back. "Samuel," he said, voice low, "I believe your daughter is in danger." My throat closed. "But she told me he never." Harris raised a hand. "I've seen this. I've seen men like Mark too many times. The slap wasn't the first act of violence. It was the first one he let you witness." I looked down at my hands that shook now. "What do I do?" Harris opened a drawer and pulled out a thin burner phone. "You keep this on you at all times. This number calls me directly. No dispatcher. No waiting." He slid it toward me. "And Samuel, you don't go near that house alone." My heart twisted. "But I need to see her. I need to make sure she's okay." "And you will," he said, "but not recklessly, not while someone is watching." He looked at the photograph again. "This isn't only about Mark. Someone else took this picture." I frowned. "Someone else?" Harris nodded. "Look at the angle. Look at the clarity. This wasn't some amateur threat. This is surveillance." The word chilled me. "Who would do that?" I whispered. Before he could answer, the door opened. A woman stepped in, mid-40s, focused eyes, badge clipped to her belt. This is Detective Mara Lewis, Harris said. She specializes in domestic threat cases. She shook my hand firmly. Mr. Trent, I've been briefed on your situation. I believe someone inside that house, not just your son-in-law, is trying to isolate your daughter from you. My breath hitched. Emma, I whispered. No. She'd never, not your daughter, Mara said softly. Someone influencing her, someone controlling both of you. A strange dread slid through my spine. Who? I repeated. We're working on it, she said, but we need to start with Mark. That evening, we drove, me and my truck, Mara and Harris following behind to casually check on Emma. Not confront, not accuse, just appear. The idea was simple. A father showing up, a daughter answering the door, a subtle look exchanged, a sign she was okay. But when I pulled into the driveway, something was wrong. Lights were off, shades drawn. The house, Emma's house, felt like it was holding its breath. Mara stepped out of her car, one hand near her hip. Samuel, stay behind me. I nodded. We approached the door. Harris knocked. Police, he called. Is anyone home? Silence. Then a rustle inside, soft, quick, panicked. Again, Mara whispered. Harris knocked harder. Opened the door, still nothing. Then a shadow moved behind the curtain, a faint whisper, a woman's voice. It was Emma's. Mara looked at me, then at Harris. He's not alone, she said, and neither is she. My chest tightened painfully. Is she hurt? I whispered. We don't know yet, Harris said. Step back. Mara reached for the knob. It didn't move. Deadbolt locked. She nodded to Harris. He lifted a small tool, inserted it into the keyhole, and within seconds the bolt clicked. The door creaked open. Darkness swallowed the hallway. The smell hit me first, smoke, sweat, stale breath, fear. Emma, I called softly, no answer. We walked inside. Mara's flashlight scanned the room, a broken vase, couch pillows on the floor, an ashtray overturned. Then her beam landed on something that made my stomach lurch, my glasses, the same pair I'd lost in the slap, bent, twisted, deliberately smashed. I felt sick. They're sending messages, Mara muttered. Where's my daughter? I choked. Something moved at the end of the hall, a slow, dragging sound. Mara lifted her light. Stay behind us, Harris warned. We turned the corner and there he was, Mark, sitting at the kitchen table, alone, elbows on the wood, hands clasped, head down. When he lifted his face toward us, his expression wasn't angry, it was terrified. Help me, he whispered hoarsely. What did you do to Emma? I demanded. He shook his head violently. No, you don't understand. You don't understand who's been in the house. Who? Mara asked sharply. Mark swallowed. She said she wanted to protect us. She said she'd take care of everything. She said she'd make sure nobody interfered. Who? Harris pressed. Mark's voice cracked. My mother. The room went still. I blinked, not understanding. Your mother, he nodded, eyes wild. She moved in 3 weeks ago, started staying in the guest room. She installed the cameras, not me, not Emma. Mara froze. Your mother installed surveillance cameras. Mark nodded again, trembling. She controls everything now. She tells Emma what to do, tells me what to say. She watches us, all the time. My stomach dropped. Where is she now? Mara asked. And Mark whispered the words that broke the room open. She took Emma. She said she was going to fix her. She said she'd be back in an hour. Mara stepped forward. Where did she take her? Mark raised his shaking hand and pointed to a door in the back hallway. A door slowly creaking open, a door leading to the basement, and from the darkness below, a woman's voice whispered, Samuel, come downstairs. The basement door yawned open like a mouth. A cold breath drifted up the stairs, and the voice, that quiet, coaxing voice, echoed again, Samuel, come downstairs. I froze. Detective Harris's hand shot out, blocking me. Don't move, he whispered, but my daughter was somewhere down there. Her name beat in my chest like a warning bell. Emma, I called out. No reply, only footsteps, slow, measured, descending deeper into the dark. Mara signaled silently, and she and Harris positioned themselves on either side of the stairwell. Mark sat rigid at the kitchen table, face pale as bone. She's been down there all morning, he whispered. My mom said Emma needed to unlearn certain behaviors. I whipped around. Unlearn, what does that mean? Mark wouldn't look at me. She thinks Emma picked up attitude from you, he said quietly. She says your influence is the reason Emma talks back, doubts him, questions anything. Anything. Harris asked sharply. Mark swallowed. Like finances, like business decisions, like him. I realized then that I had underestimated the scale of the control. This wasn't just Mark's temper, this was generational. This was a woman who taught her son how to dominate, how to keep order, how to correct disobedience. A woman who now had her claws in my daughter. The basement light flickered. "Come downstairs," her voice called again, almost musical. Mara nodded once, a silent command. Harris took the first step, gun drawn, flashlight ready. I followed close behind despite his protests. I had to. I couldn't let my daughter face this alone. The wooden steps groaned as we descended. Halfway down, the smell hit sharp, chemical, metallic, like bleach and cigarette smoke and something burnt. Then the basement came into view. A single bulb swung above the room. The walls were lined with shelves, old boxes, dusty trunks, and in the center, Emma, tied to a chair, duct tape around her. A bruise on her cheek, eyes red and wet from crying. My heart cracked open. "Emma," I whispered. She shook her head fiercely, tears spilling. "Dad, don't." A figure stepped out from behind her, slow, deliberate, a woman in her late 60s, tall, angular, hair pinned back so tightly it looked painful. Mark's mother. She smiled at me like I was an old friend arriving late to a dinner party. "Samuel Trent," she said softly. "I've been waiting for this moment." Mara raised her weapon. "Hands where I can see them." The woman didn't flinch. "I'm not the one you should fear," she said calmly. Her eyes flicked to Mark, who hovered at the top of the stairs now, trembling. "I raised a disciplined son," she said. "A strong son. A son who knows how to maintain order in his family." She walked behind Emma and placed a hand on her shoulder. Emma flinched. "But she tilted Emma's chin up. "She is soft. She questions. She resists the structure we built." My blood boiled. "You hurt my daughter," I said. "You tied her up." "I corrected her," she replied simply. "And I corrected you, Samuel. A slap was nothing compared to what you deserved for interfering." Harris stepped forward. "Step away from her." Mark's mother's eyes flashed. "You men are all the same," she hissed. "Weak. Emotional. You think love gives you authority." Then she looked straight at me. "But control is not earned through love, it's earned through fear." That was the moment I understood her fully. She didn't want a daughter-in-law, she wanted a disciple. And when Emma didn't fall into line, when I didn't disappear quietly, she escalated. A lifetime of manipulation sharpened to a knife edge. She reached into her sweater pocket and pulled something out. A remote, black, simple, a single red button. Mara's voice snapped. "Drop it, now." Mark's mother smiled again. "Calm, too calm. You think I'm stupid?" she asked. "You think I didn't plan for this?" She pointed to the basement ceiling. We all looked up. Hidden between the floor beams, wired devices. Several of them. Harris stiffened. "Everyone stay still," he whispered. "That might be a..." Before he finished, the lights flickered violently. Mark screamed from upstairs. The remote beeped. Everything inside me stopped at once. Mark's mother whispered, "If I press this, none of you leave this house alive." A chill swept down my back. She tilted her head. "You want your daughter?" she asked. "Then you obey me." Mara aimed again. "Drop the remote, and you," she said, ignoring her, eyes still on me. "You want to save her." My mouth dried. She smiled. "Then come here, Samuel, right now, on your knees." Emma sobbed. "Dad, don't." But I stepped forward anyway, because a parent does anything for their child. My foot touched the cement and the floor clicked beneath me. A tile shifted. A pressure plate. Harris grabbed my shoulder. "Don't move," Mark's mother laughed softly. "Ah, so you found my insurance." The room spun, the smell of smoke, the ticking of the bulb, the cold cement under my shoes. Then she lifted the remote higher. "Choose, Samuel," she whispered. "Your life or your daughter's." Her smile never changed, even when the remote was raised, even while my daughter sat bound and bleeding and brave in the center of the room. "Choose, Samuel," she had said. "Your life or your daughter's." Everything in me narrowed to that single, impossible choice. I felt Mara's hand at my elbow still, patient, her breath cool by my ear. "Samuel," she whispered, "can you lie flat on the pressure plate? Pretend you're giving in. Move slowly. Do exactly as I say." My skin prickled. "What's the plan?" I hissed back. She didn't answer. She only glanced up the stairs to where Harris stood by the doorway, eyes fixed on the rafters. They weren't moving without a reason. They were waiting for a beat, one that would buy enough time for tech. I made the move that felt most like a prayer. I stepped off the concrete and then down onto the tile she'd indicated. Harris's grip tightened on my shoulder as if to keep me grounded. My knees hit cold stone. The pressure plate clicked under my weight, just as she had said. Her face lit with triumph. Good, she purred. Now kneel, beg. My throat closed, but I obeyed. Please, I said, voice shaking, please don't hurt her. She leaned forward, savoring it. Then from upstairs we heard it, tires on gravel, swift, calculated, a sound I will never forget. Harris's head snapped up. Now, he muttered. The basement light flickered. Her fingers tightened on the remote. She raised it. I closed my eyes for a second, and then the world changed. A low, steady rumble outside the house, too many engines for a family dispute, a sound of organized authority. The remote's red light blinked. She pressed the button. Nothing happened. Her face flickered, confusion, then rage. No, 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 she hissed. Harris barked into his radio. Signal jammer online. Hold your position. Mara moved in perfect silence, like someone who'd been practicing rescue dances her whole life. She slid along the shelves, keeping the woman in view without making sudden moves. She's not a monster, the woman snarled at us. She's a daughter. She's a woman who understands how to keep a family alive. By terrorizing them, Mara shot back. This isn't protection, it's control. Something in the woman's face cracked. You don't understand what it means to watch your family fall apart, she whispered. To stand by while the world takes them piece by piece. Her hands shook. You left, I said. It ripped out of me. You left our family. You left a boy who needed both parents. And you expect to fix it now by breaking his life apart. For an instant, one human instant, her shoulders bowed. Victims make choices, she said, but the voice was small. Mara edged closer. Drop the remote, let her go. We won't hurt you if you cooperate. She laughed, a sound full of old iron. Cooperate, how quaint. Then something happened I didn't expect. Owen moved. He had been standing like a ghost at the head of the stairs, eyes empty, hands clenched. Now he took one lurching step down. Mom, he whispered. She turned. For the first time all night, her gaze softened on him. You were supposed to be strong, she said, voice shaking. You were supposed to take back what was ours. He looked at her, all the brittle edges melting into confusion and hurt. I don't want any of this, he said, and the words fell like a release. The woman's jaw tightened. Then she did a thing I thought only villains in movies could do. She wept. Please, she said, and the sound tore at me. Please forgive me. I thought I was saving you. Mara didn't lower her weapon. Get down, she commanded softly. Now, Owen sat on the step, head in hands. His mother's eyes darted to him, shame, fear, sudden clarity. I'm sorry, she kept saying. Harris stepped forward, careful and exact. Drop the remote, he said. Her fingers loosened. She turned the small device over and let it clatter to the concrete. Mara moved in with the speed of someone who knows the smallest hesitation can cost a life. She ripped tape from Emma's wrists with careful hands, whispering instructions, softly like a nurse, like a daughter. Harris slapped cuffs on the woman before she could change her mind. Ma'am, he said quietly, you're under arrest for unlawful confinement, assault, and installing illegal surveillance devices. Anything you say can and will be used in court. She sagged, a woman suddenly hollowed out. Owen stood, then dropped to his knees before Emma. He said, voice breaking. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. She looked at him long and hard. I forgive you, she said finally, but only because her voice was small and not because the raw wound between them disappeared. Detectives swarmed in then, backup cutting the wires, tech squads carting off hard drives, forensic teams snapping photos. Mara nodded to me once, tired and severe. You did the right thing calling us, she said. You saved her. I didn't feel like a savior. I felt like a man who'd finally done what his daughter needed him to do. Later, at the station, the woman, my son-in-law's mother, gave a statement that was part confession, part fractured explanation. She'd been convinced for years that the family needed strong hands. She'd taught Mark to dominate. She'd installed cameras to protect the household from outside influences. And when Emma questioned the way funds were handled or the authority she assumed, the woman escalated. But here is the part that cut the deepest. She admitted she had orchestrated the photos and the anonymous warnings. She wanted me frightened, so I'd stop speaking up. To keep the peace, she said, as if the word peace could justify terror. The prosecutor took the case seriously. The surveillance devices and their images were cataloged. The woman was charged. Mark was ordered into counseling and supervised visits. Emma received protective services and a place to stay with a friend while she recovered. Weeks passed like a slow tide. Owen and Emma started meeting with a therapist. He volunteered for the program. He sat in a small room and said the words "I'm sorry" until they were raw. Emma moved in with a neighbor for a while. She took time to stitch the pieces of herself back together. My heart sore, strange, grateful, began to knit in small ways. One afternoon, after a long session with the counselor, Emma met me at the diner. She slid into the booth like she had when she was 10. We sat with cups of coffee between us. She reached across the table and took my hand. "I shouldn't have asked you to stay away," she said. "I thought I was protecting Mark. I was protecting my family. I was wrong." I squeezed her fingers. "You're allowed to be wrong," I said. "You're allowed to choose what's right next." She smiled the way she used to, soft and real. "I want us to try," she said. "For us, for you." We spent the afternoon talking about small things, new recipes, the neighbor's dog who should host Thanksgiving. Those were the stitches that mattered. The woman who had controlled them sat in a cell, making clumsy apologies to a guard. It didn't fix everything. Nothing like that. But the house, Emma's house, started to feel like a place with air again. And when I walked past the living room where my glasses had once skittered across the rug, I didn't think of that slap. I thought of the way Detective Mara moved, calm, decisive, fierce. I thought of Harris's steady hands. I thought about how a father's voice, soft, sensible, had mattered enough to bring people who would act. Most of all, I thought of my daughter. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I almost lost myself," she said. "You didn't," I replied. She looked at me hard. "No one will make me small again," she said. That was the promise I carried home, and that was the first promise I kept.